Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be talking about all the books that I read in July, and I do have one DNF. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Let's kick this off with a Vengeance. I do have a full review on my channel, so I'll link it down below and up here somewhere so you can check it out. But basically I thought it was okay. I did mention in that video that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Riley Sager's book in recent years, but yeah. Go check that out. I gave it 3 stars. Next, we have The Better Sister, and this is actually now a Prime TV show, and this was really how I found out about this book. And I've mentioned it a few times before that I cannot watch a TV show or a movie before I read the book. Are you the same way, or do you just not care? But anyway, this book focuses on the relationship between Chloe and Nikki, their sisters, and Nikki's husband gets murdered, and the son is actually the prime suspect. And this story focused a lot on the court proceeding itself, so there was a big chunk in that book that was just focusing on the actual courtroom drama and all the evidence that was uncovered. And I honestly wasn't expecting that. I do prefer it in general when the characters find things out on their own and not it being shown in a courtroom during the trial. But it was written in such an engaging way that I could just look past that. And it was very well done. And I really love it when in thriller books you get to the end or almost the end and everyone could still be a suspect. And this is exactly how it was written here, and I really liked it. I think it's a solid domestic thriller, and I gave it 4 stars. Then we have So Happy Together, and this is about a young woman who's obsessed with her ex-boyfriend, and she really doesn't stop at anything to get back with him, and she just thinks they're destined to be together. And when I first heard about that plot, it sounded super promising because I was expecting a U-type thriller just with a female main character, and it was kind of like that, but I felt like the plot was a little bit all over the place, and I don't really get hung up on any plot holes and things like that. But this book did leave me with a lot of questions at the end. But the writing style was super engaging, and I thought that the metaphors that were used in here were very clever, and it was super easy to visualize the story. I honestly think this is a really good choice if you're just starting out with thrillers maybe, or you want something a little bit lighter. And I did get through it pretty quickly. But all things considered, I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. Next up, we have The Hotel Nantucket, and this was my very first book by Elin Hilderbrand. And from what I can tell online is that she's supposed to be the queen of beach reads, so I was very intrigued by that. And let me tell you, I was not disappointed. I love this one. This is set, as the book says, at the Hotel Nantucket, which was recently restored, and we have Lisbeth, who was just recently hired to be the hotel manager. And it really follows her, but also the rest of the hotel staff and their dealings with hotel visitors. And what I really didn't expect was not only do we have a little bit of drama, a little bit of love, there was also a ghost haunting in the story, and I loved it. It was so funny, and I listened to this on audio, and it truly sounded like I was just listening to a friend telling me about their day at the hotel. You know what? This was actually not my first Elin Hilderbrand book. I read The Perfect Couple last year. How did I forget about that? But anyway, I thought that the romance in here was super balanced and all the characters were really complex. And just the writing style makes it so easy to imagine yourself in Nantucket with all the hydrangeas. Everything seems to be white and blue. At least that's what I have in mind. But I highly recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. This was easily one of my favorite beach reads of all time. It was so great. So if you've read a lot of her books, please let me know which one I should pick next because she has quite an extensive backlist. And then we have 50/50. I originally got this for my Kindle for like $1 or $2 during the Prime Day sale. And I love this so much. I immediately went to the bookstore and got the physical book. Please tell me that I am not the only one that does this because I feel kind of weird for doing that. But anyway, this is actually part of a series which I didn't know when I first got into it. So the series follows Eddie Flynn, who's a lawyer, and he used to be a con artist. And this is about 2 sisters who are accusing each other of murdering their father. And then Eddie Flynn is representing one of them. And I will say that I was right with who was actually the murderer in the end, and I figured that out pretty quickly. But that did not take away from my reading experience at all. This was so well written. It's super clever. And of course, it's a serious topic, but there were so many little things sprinkled in that were funny. For example, there is an interaction with Eddie and Herb Goldman. Hilarious. And I just love how the tension is being broken up by a little bit of humor. And on the other hand, we also have Kate, who's a lawyer for the other side, and her character had so much depth. She's a very strong female character, which I really enjoyed. And I think that Steve Cavanagh is really, really good at portraying this misogynistic experience she has, which I thought is very rare for a man to describe, let's be honest. Because if you're a woman and you're in a professional setting, I guarantee you that you will recognize some of the stuff that is happening to her and just some of the things that are being said to her and how she feels. Super well done. I finished it in, I think, 2 days. And to be honest, this is worth for just the courtroom scenes. It was amazing. Needless to say, I gave this 5 stars, and this was definitely my favorite read of the month. And now I have like 5 or 6 other books that I can read from this series, and he actually just came out with the next one called The Devil's Advocate that just came out this week. But next up, I will read Kill for Me, Kill for You, because that's actually my book club's pick for the month. And then let's talk about Where the Crawdads Sing. I DNF'd this. I know this is super, super popular. It came out a few years ago, but I could not get into this at all. It's extremely slow moving, and the way it's written, it was honestly hard for me to understand sometimes. And I'll put up a screenshot of an example, but basically the way it's written is that the dialect is spelled out. And I know there's a word for this that I can't think of right now because I actually looked that up, what it's called when authors do that. I did not like this, and that might just be a me problem because I'm not a native speaker, but yeah, did not finish this. I did read, I think about 40 or 50% of this. I was almost halfway through. Then I switched to audio, and even that didn't do it for me. I was so bored the entire time. So sorry to everyone who liked this, but I did not enjoy this at all. And I could not connect to anyone in here. And am I gonna watch the movie adaptation? I don't know, but honestly, I still want to know what happened in here. Why don't you guys let me know if it's worth watching? And then we have Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. And I also have a full review of that on my channel, so definitely check it out. It's linked somewhere over here and below. But I gave this 4 stars and really, really enjoyed it. I was always a fan of her A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and this was supposed to be her first adult novel. And while it still felt a little bit young adult, I still enjoyed it, and it was definitely a page turner. And I also saw that this hit #1 in the New York Times bestseller list, so I'm not the only one liking it. But here we follow our main character Jet, who is brutally attacked, and then she's being told that she only has 7 days to live, and she's trying to figure out who tried to murder her. Pretty fast paced. There's some family drama going on too. Definitely recommend you checking it out. And there you have it. Those were all the books that I read in July. Let me know down below in the comments which books you really enjoyed last month so I can put some more on my TBR. And also let me know if you had any books that you couldn't finish last month. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.